Yeah, I think the other problem with it was it has a Return of the King issue.
If you have an oh crap bar, hang on tight.
Exactly.
Just grab that
Exactly. A new kingdom has come to the Planet of the Apes, but with 7 years since the last installment, we needed a little refresher. In this episode, we're taking a look back at the last 3 installments to find out what's going on.
This is Frame Rate Studios, where we like to talk all things movies. I'm Chad, and this primate, large primate of a being beside me, is Chad.
I don't know how he's Chad and I'm Chad, but somehow we are both Chad in this. You did, yes, you did. I'm Chad, and here's Chad. Well, hey, it's good to know we both have the same name. Are you trying to harken back to the Doctor Strange episode we did, where we found our alternates in another universe? Sometimes things just work out, folks, and you just let them go. Because you know the moment will be funnier if you do.
Okay, all right. We did that, so.
Yeah, he is Corey.
This should be fun.
And we start with Rise. Rather than having the apes already evolved to talking, we actually go back to the heart, the root of where this all began. And I think the way this story went, they did a great job of it. Yeah, I guess that's the only thing I want to start off with before I go into some other things. Is just what was your...
I liked all of the elements about this and how it very much grounds everything that happened in a sense of reality. I think it was a great way to introduce how the apes get smarter, you know, what happens to the humans, why the humans disappear, and like you could actually see it happening. And that's always when these movies, like these sci-fi movies for me, get a little bit creepier, is not when it's creepy stuff, but when it's like, oh, this could happen. And so yeah, the story, very, very well done. I think, yeah, but I can leave it at that. I mean, I said I can leave it at that, and I keep going on.
Liar! Liar!
But yeah, I love the way that Caesar develops. I like the things like very quickly at the beginning, they show his development as from a baby up to like about a 3-year-old chimp, and they do it quickly.
What really helps is the beginning. I love the beginning because the beginning has the twist. Even though it is a twist, I still think Franco's character, Will, is a little bit jumping the gun wanting to go to human testing so quick.
We're ready to move on to the next phase. Human trials.
That's one issue I had. But with that twist of, oh, it really wasn't a side effect.
Right.
You find out, oh, it's just a mama trying to be protected.
Yeah, doesn't quite do the believability thing that like they have one successful result and so then let's start trials. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like there has to be several. The guy, when he ingests the gas later on, the 113 instead of the 112, yeah, they would have put him under much stricter quarantine than that. Or just like, yeah, just go home and tell us if you have a little bit of a sniffle. But I gave it some leeway because the rest of it was very well executed.
Well, the other thing that's you got to give leeway, and only if you're from California in some ways would you know this, except for 19 states, it is illegal to own a chimpanzee in California and any other state. So having this ape that's just walking around, going through the redwoods, him just walking down the street with, it's kind of like, and when he attacks the neighbor, I think the neighbor would have been all over that.
And I guess that's the other part too, from believability standpoint, that Will's able to keep Caesar under wraps for that long and nobody says anything about it or calls animal control or anything. You know, once again, you have to kind of go, okay, cool, just put that off to the side and not pull that thread too much because it's not that important in the grand scheme of things.
For those who have watched us regularly, they'd be like, is Corey sick? If I had not brought up special effects.
At least he got his name right.
I thought they were really, really good. The textures and everything was good. However, there were certain points that they didn't fit into the environment. They kind of floated. There was something that didn't work out right.
I don't know you follow much more of the technical stuff than I do. I don't know what it is technically. There was a lot of the stuff with the close-up on the apes and things that did. Once you put them in a real scenario, and definitely once you put them in a scenario, I caught it anyway, where like there was sunlight in the background, then it was, at least in this one, it was noticeable. But still, the thing I give them credit for is that and it gets better. I'll continue to make comment on this. How well they do with the motion capture and catching the people's emotion to give you, to truly connect with the apes.
One thing I want to say else about it is the mid-credit scene. I think it's one of the best mid-credits I have seen
Agreed.
in any movie, because if there was never a sequel, I would have been happy with it.
Exactly.
It explained enough.
Exactly.
But it left it open that there could have been a sequel.
Well, how about you lead us off on your final thoughts and score, sir?
For a movie that's supposed to be like a prequel to all the other movies that have happened, kind of give you the background, this does a phenomenal job. It brings out a realistic, in some way, or somewhat of a realistic chance of this happening. I feel like all the motion captures were well. I feel as though, I think all the actors did a really great job. One that we did not touch on was John Lithgow. I mean, he does a great job as a person that has Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever he's going on with him, and capping it off with the post mid-credit. I gave it a 73.
Well, for me, I gotta say, this is a great way to restart a franchise. I get to Corey's point, it was sort of kind of a prequel story to it, but still, it's a great way to kind of restart it in the minds of a lot of old fans and new fans. You know, it's just so well constructed. You know, it's fun, it's thought-provoking, it's action-packed, it's suspenseful. I mean, it's all fit into one movie, which is impressive. Sure, it has a few flaws here or there. I'm willing to give a little bit on those because overall, Rupert Wyatt and the team, Rupert Wyatt had a fantastic vision for what he wanted to see, and the team behind him just knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. So for me, it was an 84. I was very, very impressed. So with that, we will now move on to, of course, the one thing with this is, I wish it was just like Planet of the Apes 1, 2, 3. Because I can't ever seem to remember which is which.
That is one thing I will say is I have trouble with Dawn and Rise. I'm kind of like, I think Dawn should have been first then Rise. But at the same time, if you think about the sun is rising, and it really doesn't start to come out until dawn. I don't know.
It makes sense, but it also is, and we'll get to it, but it's like there's a lot more war that happens in Dawn than actually happens in war. So it's hard to, sometimes in my head, keep them straight.
Sounds like you two have issues.
This, I thought, was a great way to keep the franchise going and pick up straight off where the mid-credit, end-credit scene basically started or was. And it was like, and once again, it does a great job of establishing within, a minute, 2 minutes of, here's where the story's at. So it feels like you never left off. It's like, okay, cool, we're just right back in it.
The other thing that I noticed about the beginning, I will say the first act is kind of a little bit slower pace. It takes a while to get into it. But once it does, if you have an oh crap bar, hang on tight.
Exactly.
Just grab that
thing. Exactly. Like you said, we do not stop. I mean, you don't. And that's what it just makes it so good. Just that tone and that pacing. It's like, and it pays off those slow moments because it pays off it's been quiet, it's been quiet, it's been quiet.
What I saw that helped this out also was the fact that the apes really didn't talk quite yet. I mean, even Caesar, he was talking well, but it was still sort of a chopped learning, and everything was sign language. So it felt good. You get to experience that evolutionary progress that they're
Absolutely.
making.
What I continue to like is that even though we changed directors, and everything, that we're sticking with the story of Caesar is continuing to struggle with being someone who was of two worlds and understands the humans and that they do have a capacity for good, but trying to get his brethren, the other apes, to understand that, and that it's always coming across very, very well, both from the story and Andy Serkis's acting, that he is constantly torn.
I want to go back to the beginning. It takes a while. The thing about it, though, is I was still on edge. I could feel the tension. I could feel the tension mount. Every positive interaction, you're just like, is this the end? Is this the end? You had this uneasy feeling. So it had a great build up to it. So you know something's going to happen. You just wonder, is it this time? Oh, is it this time?
It kept the tension ramped up, and a perfect encapsulation of this is when Caesar and Cornelia come up with I guess at this point it's Blue Eyes, and the baby comes up as interacting with the humans, and you're like, the whole point, it's like, you're like, oh, this isn't going to go good. Then it does start to.
You finished? What are you looking at?
Then it doesn't go good. So like it just keeps you on this roller coaster, and like you said, you're just like, just on the edge of your seat, and something that should just be a simple drama. You're just like, uh-oh, is this where the powder keg is going to go off? Where's it going to start?
Besides Andy Serkis, obviously, who is one of the apes who continues to through all of them, the only two that really stood out to me was Kerry Russell and Gary Oldman. Those were the two that really stood out. Also, the guy who played, is it Carver? Yeah, Carver. He does a really good job at being an ape.
Oh, yeah. No.
You just, you want something to happen to him, but yet you don't want it to be Koba. Because you know that's just going to be wrong.
Well, it just feeds into it if it's Koba, but it does kind of make sense story-wise that those two are pretty much, they are the same character, just opposite sides of the coin, one from the apes, one from the humans.
I think the greatest performance in all reality was from Nick Thorsten. He played Caesar's son.
Blue Eyes?
No.
Yeah, Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is his son. It's his oldest son.
He gets killed. No, you're right, Blue Eyes. Sorry, I'm wrong.
Wrong again, stupid.
The one who really does a good job is Nick Thorsten.
Smooth.
Who does play Blue Eyes.
Okay.
And just the facial expressions. Just what he can carry. Yes, it is CGI. Yeah. But they have to have those expressions to capture it and then sculpt around it. So it's just, I think he just by looking into his eyes.
And so that leads into, I think you continue to see the improvement in the motion capture, improvement in a lot of the effects and everything. Only call out for me, and I mentioned it earlier about committing to all one thing. Some of the very first scene with the deer, it's like there where I brought that up earlier, I kind of foreshadowed that it's like the deer look CGI and the apes at least look real. Because there's a consistent look to all of the apes because they're all motion captured. But then trying to interact with the deer, it just...
I was looking at them and I was like, it looks much better. But having them together, I know what you're saying. Because the elk is what they were, not deer, but elk. They looked great on their own.
Yeah.
But just like the bear looked great.
Exactly.
But once you started interacting, there was something wrong with it.
One of these things is not like the others.
All right, you want to start off the scoring?
I
did the
will.
last one.
I will. This is a great way to keep a franchise going. It's even though we switch horses in the middle of the race and switch from one director to another, and we've got Matt Reeves in this, he continues a good job of keeping the story where it was at and adding things to it. It's still very well constructed, albeit a little slower paced at times and heavier on exposition. It's still very well done. Where it improves for me was the acting. Obviously, I'd made my points about Franco. I think the overall cast does a great job here. And just the emotion, the improvement on the motion capture, the emotion that comes through in all of the ape characters is just, it's gut-wrenching at times, and that's in a good way for what this story needs to be. So this is going to sound a little familiar, but my score for this is 84.
I will agree that this was a great follow-up. It's what you need for a sequel, for something that, like I said after the first one, the way it was left off, it could have stayed or it could have came. And this time you're happy that it came, that this did happen. It continued that flow, and it makes you want to look forward to it to continue on. The performances were really well done. The like I almost am repeating everything Chad says, is the motion capture, the VFX is great. You can just see everybody's emotion, and I'm kind of right there with you. It might sound familiar. I'm 1 point higher, 74.
So now we're going to go into War for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, for me, this is the one where they just tried to jam a little too much into the story, and some things got a little lost for me.
I don't know if I'd say they try to jam to. I don't know what it. Well, actually, I can tell you what it is. It had a different feel. That was the main thing. It started off there. I think also you come into it and you hinted at it at the very beginning, and I even put it down. War is not a good name for this one.
No.
Because the apes aren't really in the war.
No.
It also turned into more of a comedy by adding Bad Ape. I'd like Bad Ape. He was entertaining, but there's certain scenes that I was like, he wasn't needed for comedy relief. It was like, okay, that one wasn't needed. And I think, it was drawn out too long on how things were happening, and so I agree with you. There's something that's missing in it.
Well, I guess that's the thing. It's like you can't quite put your finger on it, or I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But it was like that was what I started to grasp at was that I liked the idea of the story. Like I like the concept of adding Bad Ape. I like the concept of adding the girl Nova to it. I like those ideas of what it is for the larger story that's going on. But the problem is it felt like, and some of it's, we've talked about this before, expectation of trailer versus film. I kind of fell into what I give you a hard time about Pig about, which is I thought it was truly going to be a, tete-a-tete. It was going to be the Colonel versus Caesar. And yes, it kind of was, but not enough of it, because I thought the Colonel character was really, really good. I think they could have done his backstory in a different way that didn't kind of wasn't so clunky. It made sense why he is the sadistic whoa, jackwagon that he is.
Oh, that's not so bad.
And Woody Harrelson, I think, does a good job playing that. It's what you talked about with the second one, that it's like, you're constantly on the edge of your seat, right? You're constantly waiting for something, what's next? And in this one, you're kind of like, it kind of gets to the point, it's like, okay, can we get to the end of this, move on to what's next? And so that's what was missing. That's the pacing and the choices in editing and directing just weren't quite as crisp as they'd been in the past one.
The way this one started was in line with the first two. Each one, I felt like, started just a beat or two faster, like the intensity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This one started off, you're like, okay, they're just going to go straight into the war.
Yep.
And then it just... stopped, and there was nothing. And on top of it, I get to be completely disappointed that they kill off Roger Cross. Why does he get killed off in everything? And the other question I have is, why are you not subscribing? If you're still watching right now, that means you like us. Please subscribe.
Yeah.
Thank
Get
you.
down in the comment section, leave some comments, subscribe. Come on, help us out here. And then, I think the other problem with it was it has a Return of the King issue. Well, is this the ending? Nope, not yet. Is this the... No, not yet. Almost. Just wait. And put on top of that the fact that there's a lot of walking in part of this movie. It's like, okay, guys, we're trying to... anyway.
I want to know where they were also.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be in California, I know that. And they're saying the people up north are coming down, but I'm confused because 1 minute they're in the forest, then they're on a beach. Okay, that one I can follow. That could happen. Then they're in the winterland. And then at the very end, after the big battle and everything, they go from winterland to desert. And I'm like...
Yeah.
This is the world's smallest ecosystem.
Like one of those biodomes.
We're doing a lot, and obviously it has some issues story-wise and everything. Still, though, not enough to completely lose me at any point in time. Like, I kept commenting, it's like, nope, they keep getting it better. They keep getting it better. And I get it was 3 years since the last one, but it's like, but markedly, not to where it's just like, well, it's kind of better. It's like, markedly to where it's like, no, they really look like real apes at this point. Like, it's the fur, everything. The emotions are just even more impactful. That they can get the emotional range they do on Maurice with those little eyeballs there. I'll let you go.
They did well in the second one with wet fur.
Mm-hmm.
This was even all that much better.
Nice.
The only thing I still
Always a
see,
but.
you said it earlier.
Yeah.
They still have problems with bright sceneries.
Yeah.
Still has that, and that's always due to light refraction. How does light bounce off of real stuff?
So let's take a look at a difference between specular reflection and diffuse reflection.
Let's not and say we did.
They're getting better and better with it, with the way the technology is being done, how they can try to reenact whatever the light is doing. But here it was just like when the sun was right on them, it's like I can tell there's something. They're not in. They were in. They felt like they were in the environment.
Yeah.
But they were not. This time was more like a ghost, maybe. That type of feeling of you're in the environment, but you're something different. Whereas the first one, when they weren't, they didn't even feel like they were in the environment. They felt like they were on another set of the screen and something.
Well, how about you let us know your final thoughts for War for the Planet of the Apes. It didn't have much war until the end.
Okay, so for War 4 of the Planet of the Apes, wow, that's a tongue twister. That nice little evolution we were getting to see for the storyline from 1 to 2 devolved a little bit in this. We took a step back. Yes, we get to see Caesar talking more. Actually, several of the apes are speaking more. They're more fluent. However, the pacing, I think that's the biggest thing. The pacing is off. There's certain things that aren't needed. And parts that were added that were good, they ruin, such as Bad Ape. He gets a little too much screen time. Woody Harrelson, great performance. I will say, watching this, though, it did not make me, going into Kingdom, going, oh no, why are we having another one? I'm still excited. I'm still thinking this is going to be a good ride. So, however, I mean, I did go backwards, but I don't think it was too bad. I dropped down to a 64.
I already said it. This is the one where they just tried to do a little too much. I love some of the story concepts. Like Corey said, Bad Ape, great concept. A little bit too much of him in it. A little bit too much of maybe not too much of him in it. Too much of the humor while he's in it. It's just too long. Gets mired down in exposition and backstory a little bit too much here or there. But still, acting was great. Andy Serkis continues to stand out and just is phenomenal. Woody Harrelson is a great actor. I just wanted to see more of him in it. I would have liked to see more between him and Caesar. More of a psychological battle between the two of them. It's still good, just not quite as well executed. I'm like Corey, it doesn't give me pause for when to watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's just, I wanted to see it do a little bit better. Why I gave a little smirk is that I scored it at a 64. And that was originally I gave it a 67, but I just felt I know it's splitting hairs here, but I just felt it was a little too high. And I'm like, nah, I got to pull it down a little bit.
We go bye-bye?